The story of Noah's Ark. It echoes through millennia, a testament to faith, a cataclysmic flood. But beneath the ancient narrative, a different truth emerges. Archaeologists and engineers now uncover revelations so profound, they rewrite our understanding of antiquity itself. What they find challenges the very limits we place on ancestral ingenuity. Imagine a vessel, built without steel or engines, housing life itself against a raging planet, solutions for daily waste, water systems flowing without electric pumps. These were not dreams, but necessities. The Ark stands as history's supreme feat of naval engineering. Genesis 6:15 details God's command: 300 cubits long, 50 wide, 30 high. Translated, these figures measure a colossal 443 feet in length, 74 feet across, and 44 feet tall. Picture an American football field, rising 4 stories. Modern cruise ships might dwarf it, stretching to nearly 1,000 feet. Yet, naval architects gaze upon the Ark's proportions with awe. They recognize a perfect ratio of length, width, and height, a design optimized for unwavering stability, even in the most furious seas. Now, envision the construction. Noah, nearing his 6th century, embarked on this epic project. For 120 years he toiled, alongside only his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, Japheth, and their wives. No cranes clawed at the sky, no power tools roared, no heavy machinery sculpted the landscape. Every beam was hewn, every joint set by hand. It demanded staggering skill, unyielding ingenuity, and a perseverance that defied logic. The very material of the Ark remains shrouded in mystery. The original text speaks of gopher wood. Scholars debate its identity. Cypress, cedar, or perhaps a species now lost to time known for its inherent resistance to water. This selection, whatever the wood, speaks volumes. It reveals an advanced grasp of material science, a deep understanding of durability within the ocean's relentless embrace. And the site, far from any major waterway, from a purely nautical view, the location made no sense. It seemed an impossibility. Yet, this very paradox underscores the project's true nature. An undertaking driven solely by an unshakable faith in divine instruction. Modern naval engineers confirm the Ark's extraordinary efficacy. A length-to-width ratio of 6. 1 is the gold standard for stability in churning waters. This suggests an astonishing comprehension of advanced principles of naval architecture, knowledge we assumed belonged only to our own era. Inside, a complex skeleton of longitudinal and transverse beams likely braced the hull. These partitions would have forged rigid compartments, bolstering the vessel's strength against unimaginable forces. This technique, mirroring practices in shipbuilding today, allowed the Ark to withstand the monumental shock of towering waves. The exterior, almost certainly, received a coat of bitumen. This ancient waterproofing agent, mentioned in the biblical account, had been known for millennia for its sealing power. It was the final, critical step, ensuring watertight integrity for a voyage through the most extreme maritime conditions. But then, the inevitable question surfaces. How could a vessel of these dimensions, immense, yes, but still finite, possibly accommodate all the planet's animal diversity? The popular image, millions of creatures swarming the decks, defies physics. Yet, contemporary studies offer a startlingly realistic answer. Research indicates roughly 6,800 individual animals found passage aboard the Ark. This figure shatters conventional estimates, and the discrepancy hinges on a vital distinction: the biblical kinds against our modern species. In Hebrew, the term min refers to ancestral groups, not the individual variations we classify today. The canine kind, for instance, represents the common progenitor of wolves, domestic dogs, foxes, and coyotes. No need to bring every single breed or specific variation, only the root. The distinction between biblical kinds and modern species changed everything. Where once lay an insurmountable challenge, now emerged a precise, almost elegant solution. Taxonomic studies, when an array of logistical impossibilities that had long troubled the skeptical mind. Insects, marine organisms, plants, none required a place within the great vessel. They possessed the innate capacity to endure the flood's cataclysmic conditions. Think of the beetle. Over 400,000 catalogued species crawl across the earth today, yet all could trace their lineage back to just a handful of ancestral types preserved aboard the Ark. The biblical account paints a vivid picture of the animal's arrival. They did not need capture. They came, two by their own accord, an extraordinary instinctual migration, guided by an unseen hand. This phenomenon eliminated the most Herculean of tasks for Noah, actively gathering each creature. The entire operation simplified immensely. Inside, the Ark's vast interior followed a logic both functional and efficient. 3 decks divided the colossal space, each engineered to house distinct categories of life. The lowest deck bore the heaviest burden, sheltering the largest and most massive animals. This placement secured the vessel's structural stability, rooting it against the rising chaos. The middle deck offered sanctuary to creatures of medium stature, and the uppermost level reserved its space for the smaller species, the myriad birds that filled the sky. Every compartment, a bespoke environment, herbivores and carnivores kept strictly apart, minimizing any potential for conflict. Reptiles and amphibians, creatures of delicate needs, found microclimates tailored to their very survival. Birds, with their fragile wings and soaring spirits, nested in specialized structures high above. Evidence mounts that many of the animals brought aboard were juveniles or subadults. This strategy slashed both space and feeding requirements. Younger animals proved easier to handle, their needs less demanding. The volume of waste they produced significantly reduced. Even dinosaurs, those colossal beasts often imagined as titanic figures in popular culture, would have been represented by smaller, younger specimens, mere echoes of their full-grown might. This careful selection, this focus on ancestral kinds, revealed a level of planning astonishingly sophisticated. Modern genetic studies now reinforce the sheer feasibility of it all. Today's staggering biological diversity, emerging from a relatively small pool of breeding pairs, driven by processes of accelerated speciation in the wake of the flood. This unprecedented logistical operation unfolded, managed by just 8 souls: Noah, his wife, their 3 sons, and their wives. 8 people, responsible for nearly 7,000 living creatures. Their ability to shepherd such a multitude through the year-long ordeal spoke not only to an extraordinary level of organization, but from the biblical perspective offered clear evidence of divine intervention. The sheer scale of it all, the wisdom woven into God's plan, it compels admiration. But an inevitable question rises from the depths of this ancient narrative. How did this family, this tiny crew, manage to keep so many animals fed and healthy for over a year at sea? How did they contend with the tons of waste produced, day after relentless day, keeping approximately 6,800 animals in a confined environment for 370 days? It represents one of the greatest logistical challenges ever described in Scripture. Analyzing this aspect unveils a surprisingly advanced organizational system, an ingenuity that far surpassed the technological capabilities typically attributed to its era. The feeding system stood as a crucial element. Archaeological and textual studies whisper of a mechanism that, in our modern terms, might be classified as semi-automatic. Large ceramic containers, known as jaws, Nestled strategically within the animal enclosures, calibrated openings released precisely measured portions of food and water, tailored to the specific needs of each species. Preserving food for over a year demanded techniques of extreme sophistication. Historical records hint at methods employed by Noah: solar dehydration, storage in dry compartments, the careful use of hermetically sealed containers. The food inventory itself was a marvel of foresight. Grains, hay, dried fruits, and seeds all meticulously planned to meet the diverse nutritional requirements of the Ark's varied occupants. Then, the waste, a colossal challenge. Estimates suggest a daily output reaching several tons. The solution implemented demonstrated remarkable ingenuity. Enclosures were not flat. Their floors sloped gently, directing waste into specific channels. These channels converged, funneling the refuse into a central reservoir situated on the Ark's lowest deck. Here, sluice gates allowed for the controlled discharge of waste overboard, flushing the accumulating filth into the turbulent waters below. Internal lighting relied on oil lamps, fueled by olive oil or animal fat. Maintaining this system, a constant, crucial daily task, ensured sufficient illumination for internal activities, allowing the work to continue 24 hours a day. Noah's family quarters occupied an isolated section, likely on the third deck of the vessel. Here, the four couples found a minimum level of privacy, a small sanctuary away from the intense cacophony and pervasive odors that permeated the rest of the Ark. The ship's hydraulic system also deserved special mention. Rainwater, the very force of the deluge, was collected with painstaking care. Systems filtered it through layers of sand and charcoal, a purification technique understood even in antiquity. A network of channels and pipes, crafted from bamboo or hollowed wood, then distributed this precious, clean water throughout the vessel. The daily routine was a strict, unyielding schedule. Tasks included the meticulous inspection of animal health, the refilling of the feeding systems, the cleaning of common areas, the constant maintenance of the lamps, and the preparation of family meals. This relentless cycle of activities, repeated without interruption, for the entire duration of the flood. Time itself was tracked through rudimentary methods, markings etched onto surfaces, records inscribed on parchments. This careful timekeeping proved crucial, preserving the exact memory of the event's duration, a testament to the biblical narrative's precision. The crew's diet, though monotonous, was a testament to survival planning. Preserved foods, grains, dried legumes, dehydrated fruits, and unleavened bread, each element chosen to provide the essential nutrients necessary for their long ordeal. The Ark's sound environment presented another profound challenge: the constant noise of animal vocalizations, the deep creaking of the structure, the relentless impact of waves, the incessant drumming of rain. Together, they created an intense, continuous soundscape. Psychologically, adapting to these conditions demanded extraordinary resilience from every occupant. This entire complex operational system, functioning efficiently for over a year without any modern technological resources, stood as a true milestone in the history of ancient engineering and resource management. The survival of every species aboard served as compelling evidence of the effectiveness of the methods employed on the Ark. A thorough analysis of these technical systems reveals an engineering knowledge that clearly surpassed the technological capabilities known at the time. These details offer strong indications of supernatural guidance woven into the Ark's very design. Among the most sophisticated aspects of the construction was its ventilation system. The Ark's massive structure featured an upper opening, known in Hebrew as the Sohar, about 1 cubit high. This aperture was strategically positioned to generate natural convection currents. This ingenious design allowed continuous air circulation throughout the 3 decks of the vessel, an absolute necessity for keeping thousands of animals alive in an enclosed space. The hydrodynamic stability of the Ark, especially amid cataclysmic storms, demonstrated an impressive level of engineering. While its rectangular shape is often criticized by lay observers, it actually provided maximum stability in turbulent seas. The 6:1 length-to-width ratio established a low center of gravity, drastically reducing the risk of capsizing. Internally, transverse and longitudinal beams interlocked, creating a cellular structure strikingly similar to modern naval technology. This configuration evenly distributed the immense stresses generated by giant waves, preventing structural ruptures. And the bituminous coating, beyond waterproofing the wood, also increased its flexibility, allowing the structure to absorb severe impacts without cracking. Another remarkable detail: specialized compartments for reptiles and amphibians. This highlighted an advanced understanding of the biological needs of these animals. These environments maintain specific microclimates through passive humidity and temperature control systems. Strategically positioned water reservoirs created more humid zones, while more ventilated areas provided drier environments as needed. The sound environment inside the Ark, as mentioned, presented an immense psychological challenge. The constant noise, the vocalizations of thousands of animals, the deep groans of the wooden structure, the relentless impact of waves, the torrential rain, created an almost unbearable cacophony. Acoustic studies suggest noise levels exceeded 85 dB, comparable to a modern industrial factory. Maintaining mental health for 370 days under such conditions required extraordinary adaptation strategies. To survive emotionally through this intense ordeal, Noah's family established strict routines. They divided tasks, maintained regular cycles of rest. Their living quarters were acoustically insulated with improvised sound-absorbing materials, creating small pockets of relief amidst the chaos. During the 40 days and 40 nights of unceasing rain, conditions reached critical extremes: constant thunder, intense lightning, the brutal turbulence of the waters. This created an environment of continuous terror. During this critical phase, the psychological survival of the crew depended on unwavering faith and remarkable mental discipline. The landing on Mount Ararat marked the end of this extraordinary journey. The gradual disembarkation of the animals, the orderly dispersion of species, the re-establishment of ecosystems. Even the final moments were executed with meticulous planning. The integrated functioning of all systems: ventilation, structural integrity, climate control, psychological management. It revealed a level of technical sophistication that defies purely naturalistic explanations. The flawless operation of these systems for over a year points unmistakably to divine guidance in every detail of the design. But the implications of the flood narrative do not end with survival alone. It brings profound biological and theological consequences that transcend the event itself. Contemporary analyses reveal fascinating details about post-flood genetic variation and fundamental changes in humanity's dietary patterns. All the genetic diversity we observe today, both among animals and humans, descends from the pairs preserved on the Ark. The same principle applies to the 8 surviving humans: Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives. A frequently raised question among scholars concerns an apparent contradiction in the divine instructions. Genesis 6:1920 mentions bringing 2 of every kind, while Genesis 7:2-3 specifies 7 pairs of clean animals. However, experts in biblical Hebrew clarify that no contradiction exists. The general instruction was indeed to bring 1 pair of each kind, except in the case of animals classified as clean, of which 7 pairs were to be taken. These extra clean animals were intended for future purposes of sacrifice and food. The distinction between clean and unclean animals, later formalized in the Mosaic Law, was already recognized in Noah's time. Initially, This classification related exclusively to sacrificial practices, since before the flood, the human diet was strictly vegetarian. During the 370 days aboard the Ark, Noah's family subsisted on preserved foods, grains, dried legumes, dehydrated fruits, and other carefully stored vegetables. The preservation techniques they employed ensured adequate nutrition throughout the long journey. After disembarking, Genesis 9:3 records a fundamental change in the human diet. For the first time, the consumption of meat was permitted. This transition to an omnivorous diet was not trivial. Human physiology, originally designed for a plant-based diet, had to adapt to processing animal proteins, a process likely gradual and initially difficult for the first meat consumers. From a theological standpoint, this change reflects a modification in God's original plan. In Eden, the dietary regime was exclusively vegetarian, suggesting this was humanity's primary intention. The permission to consume meat after the flood represents a divine concession, a response to the new post-flood realities, likely due to severe environmental changes that made survival more challenging. Modern nutritional analyses confirm that the human digestive system retains predominantly herbivorous characteristics: a long intestine, the absence of true claws, molar teeth adapted for grinding, and a significantly lower production of hydrochloric acid compared to true carnivores. This dietary transformation symbolizes a profound rupture with the original Edenic state, marking the beginning of a new era in the relationship between humanity, nature, and God himself. The rainbow, instituted as the symbol of the post-flood covenant, sealed this new existential paradigm. To continue uncovering the mysteries of the Holy Scriptures, explore more, where we reveal the secrets of the greatest constructions of the Bible, wonders of ancient engineering that continue to challenge our modern understanding to this day. May God bless you.